Welcome back to another session. Today we are diving deep into the read and academic passage task, a cornerstone of the TOEFL reading section. We're going to dissect a university-level text together, analyzing its structure and logic to ensure you can confidently navigate even the most complex academic topics. Let's get started. If you find these breakdowns helpful, make sure to subscribe to myTOEFL for more expert strategies. Let's keep building your path to a high score together. The Science of Language Acquisition. This title, The Science of Language Acquisition, immediately prepares us for a technical discussion on how humans learn to communicate. By using the word science, the author signals that we will be exploring evidence-based theories and biological processes. The process of language acquisition in children is a remarkable cognitive feat that has fascinated linguists for decades. B4 introduces the topic by describing language learning as a remarkable cognitive feat. This phrasing highlights that the process is not just a simple habit, but a complex achievement of the human mind. Unlike adults who often struggle with grammar and vocabulary in a second language, young children absorb their native tongue with apparent ease. Here, a contrast is established between adults and young children to emphasize how naturally children learn. The phrase apparent ease suggests that for children, the process happens without the conscious struggle adults face. Research suggests that this occurs through an innate biological mechanism rather than mere imitation of caregivers. This sentence is crucial because it identifies the innate biological mechanism as the primary driver of learning. It moves the explanation away from mere imitation, suggesting that humans are born with a specialized internal system for language. By the age of 5, most children had mastered the complex syntactical structures of their language without any formal instruction. The author concludes the introductory paragraph by noting that children master complex syntactical structures by age 5. This demonstrates the efficiency of the biological process, especially since it happens without formal instruction. A central concept in this field is the critical period hypothesis, which posits that there is a specific window of time for optimal language development. As we move to the second paragraph, the focus shifts to the critical period hypothesis. This specific term introduces a time-sensitive element to the biological theory mentioned earlier. During this stage, the brain exhibits high neuroplasticity, allowing it to process linguistic inputs with efficiency. This sentence uses the academic term neuroplasticity to explain why the brain is so effective during this time. The phrase unprecedented efficiency underscores that this level of learning power is unique to this specific life stage. If a child is not exposed to language during these early years, their ability to achieve native-level fluency becomes significantly compromised. P4 in the said author warns that without exposure, a child's fluency becomes significantly compromised. This conditional structure shows the high stakes involved in the critical period. Case studies of isolated children have shown that while they can learn basic vocabulary later in life, they often struggle to master intricate grammatical rules after this window has closed. To support the hypothesis, the author mentions isolated children who could learn words but not intricate grammatical rules. This distinction proves that the brain's ability to handle complex structure is what truly fades over time. However, modern researchers emphasize that while biology provides the foundation, social interaction is equally indispensable. The transition word, however, signals a shift in perspective, introducing the idea that social interaction is just as vital as biology. This balances the previous biological argument with a communicative one. The social gating hypothesis suggests that infants require real-time human interaction to effectively categorize speech sounds and learn new words. The social gating hypothesis is introduced here, explaining that infants need real-time human interaction to process language. This suggests that the brain filters information based on social relevance. Experiments have shown that babies exposed to language solely through television or audio recordings do not show the same level of phonetic learning as those who interact with a live tutor. The author cites experiments comparing live tutors to television to prove this point. The finding that media does not yield the same level of phonetic learning highlights the irreplaceable nature of human presence. This indicates that the human brain is specifically tuned to prioritize social signals, ensuring that language learning is both a biological and a communicative process. Finally, the passage concludes that language is both a biological and a communicative process. By quoting social signals, the author emphasizes that our brains are hardwired to learn through others. What is the passage mainly about? This is a main idea question, indicated by the phrase mainly about, We need to find an option that encompasses both the biological mechanisms and the social factors discussed in the 3 paragraphs. Now, keeping this in mind, let's evaluate our options. Let's take a closer look at option A, the differences between written and spoken language. This option mentions written and spoken language, but the text focuses on the acquisition process rather than a comparison of these two forms. We should eliminate this choice. Now, let's examine option B, the evolution of the human brain across civilizations. While the human brain is mentioned, the text does not discuss the evolution of civilizations. This is too broad and off-topic, so we can discard it. Here's option C. Let's break it down. The history of formal education in early childhood. The passage actually states that children learn without any formal instruction, which directly contradicts the idea that the passage is about the history of formal education. Let's eliminate this. Finally, let's look at option D, the biological and social factors of language acquisition. This is the perfect fit because it covers both biological and social factors, which aligns with the text's conclusion that language is a biological and a communicative process. We should keep this option. The correct answer to this question is option D, since it accurately summarizes the dual focus of the passage on innate mechanisms and social interaction. The word in paragraph 2 is closest in meaning to. This is a vocabulary in context question asking for the meaning of unprecedented. We need to look at how it describes efficiency in paragraph 2. Now, keeping this in mind, let's evaluate our options. Let's take a closer look at option A, frequent. Frequent means happening often, but unprecedented refers to something that has never happened before or is unmatched in degree. This doesn't fit the context, so let's eliminate it. Now, let's examine option B, unparalleled. This is a strong match. Unparalleled captures the idea of something being without equal, which fits perfectly with the high neuroplasticity described in the text. Let's keep this. Here's option C. Let's break it down. Temporary. While the critical period is a window of time, the word unprecedented describes the quality of the efficiency, not its duration. Therefore, temporary is incorrect. Finally, let's look at option D, historic. Historic refers to something famous in history, but unprecedented in this scientific context means the level of efficiency is superior to any other time. We should eliminate this. Therefore, the correct answer is option B, because unparalleled is a direct synonym for unprecedented when describing a unique level of efficiency. According to paragraph 2, what is a primary consequence of missing the critical period for language? This question asks for a primary consequence mentioned in paragraph 2. We need to find the specific result of a child not being exposed to language during the critical window. Now, keeping this in mind, let's evaluate our options. Let's take a closer look at option A, an immediate decline in physical neuroplasticity. The text says the brain exhibits neuroplasticity during the stage, but it doesn't explicitly state that missing the window causes an immediate decline in physical plasticity. This is an inference, not a stated consequence. Let's eliminate it. Now, let's examine option B, the loss of the ability to learn new vocabulary. This is a distractor. Paragraph 2 actually states that isolated children can learn basic vocabulary later in life, so they don't lose the ability entirely. Let's discard this. Here's option C. Let's break it down. A total inability to recognize any spoken words. The phrase total inability is too extreme. The text mentions that fluency is significantly compromised, not completely impossible. We should eliminate this. Finally, let's look at option D, a persistent difficulty in mastering complex grammar. This matches the text perfectly. The passage notes that isolated children struggle to master intricate grammatical rules. This is a clear example of difficulty in mastering complex grammar. Let's keep this. The correct answer to this question is option D, since it directly reflects the evidence from case studies mentioned in the second paragraph. The passage mentions all of the following as factors in language development except. This is an except question. We need to identify which of these options is not mentioned as a factor in the passage. We'll look for 3 correct details and one that is missing or false. Now, keeping this in mind, let's evaluate our options. Let's take a closer look at option A, the mastering of syntax without formal instruction. Paragraph 1 explicitly mentions that children master structures without any formal instruction. Since this is in the text, it is not our answer. Eliminate it. Now, let's examine option B, the importance of real-time human interaction. Paragraph 3 emphasizes real-time human interaction as indispensable. Since this is mentioned as a factor, it cannot be the answer. Discard it. Here's option C. Let's break it down. The use of audio recordings to replace live tutors. The passage says infants do not show the same learning through recordings. It mentions recordings to show they are ineffective, not that they are used to replace tutors successfully. This is the outlier. Let's keep it. Finally, let's look at option D, the high neuroplasticity of the young brain. Paragraph 2 specifically describes how the brain exhibits high neuroplasticity. Because this is in the text, it is not the correct choice for an except question. Eliminate it. The correct answer to this question is option C, since the passage argues that recordings are actually ineffective for phonetic learning compared to live interaction. What is the relationship between paragraph 2 and paragraph 3? This question asks for the relationship between paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. We need to see how the discussion of biology in P2 connects to the discussion of social signals in P3. Now, keeping this in mind, let's evaluate our options. Let's take a closer look at option A. Paragraph 3 provides evidence that contradicts the findings mentioned in paragraph 2. Paragraph 3 says interaction is equally indispensable, which supports the biological foundation rather than contradicts it. We should eliminate this choice. Now, let's examine option B. Paragraph 3 describes a problem and paragraph 2 provides a final solution. Paragraph 2 discusses a hypothesis, not a problem, and paragraph 3 adds another layer of theory rather than a final solution. Let's discard this. Here's option C. Let's break it down. Paragraph 3 introduces a social component that complements the biological focus of paragraph 2. This is accurate. Paragraph 3 introduces the social component which complements the biological focus of the critical period hypothesis in paragraph 2. Let's keep this. Finally, let's look at option D. Paragraph 3 focuses on adult learning while paragraph 2 focuses on infants. Paragraph 3 still focuses on infants, specifically how they categorize sounds. It does not shift to adult learning, therefore this option is factually incorrect. The correct answer to this question is option C, since the passage builds a multidimensional argument that links biological readiness with social necessity. Great work today. Always remember that in TOEFL reading, understanding the logical transition between paragraphs is just as important as knowing the vocabulary. Pay close attention to how authors balance different theories using words like however or equally indispensable. Keep practicing this analytical approach and you'll see your scores rise.